Live with you here on SportsGrid. It is a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on Game Time Decisions. 2 hours here to go through tonight's game. It is a packed NBA board. Plenty of college basketball action as well. Full NHL slate. Joe Madden will help us with that. Coach James Young steps by as well. A lot for us to go through here on this Tuesday night. So let's just open it up because, as I said, it's a packed NBA board. We did have a very light Monday slate of action there. A controversial ending at Madison Square Garden. The Knicks get the win. Certainly no cover, only beating the Pistons by 2. But it has left a lot of Knicks questionable tonight. And at home, they're catching points from the New Orleans Pelicans. It's something for us to keep our eye on there. Will Jalen Brunson be playing? This NBA slate as a whole, again, if we could just pop that up, is full of some interesting spots. Of course, again, a few back-to-backs. The Pistons are in action as well tonight. Some of the top games that you have on this slate here, no Lakers. The Warriors are going to be playing Jordan Poole again, but Dallas-Cleveland is one that a lot of people will be interested in here. And this 4.5-point line, I think, is a strong reflection of the book's belief in Dallas, actually. I know that might sound rare to say about a team catching 4.5 points, but the Cavs have been booked very strongly, especially with Donovan Mitchell expected to be into tonight's lineup here. And this only being 4.5 for the Mavs that are sitting right now in that Western Conference play-in race. I think the books are a believer on this team. We saw that reflected in both the games they've played so far since the All-Star break, even if they're 1-1. But being the favorite over the Phoenix Suns and being a favorite in Indianapolis against the Indiana Pacers there, it certainly jumped off the page. We'll bring our radio audience into the fold. We're live with you on SportsGrid Sirius XM, channel 159. Kevin Walsh. It is Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night. Other interesting spots here on the board tonight. Philly catching double digits from the Boston Celtics. That is a line I want to talk a little bit about and kind of the takeaway from what you can read on that line. Still shorthanded Miami Heat against the Blazers. They did get a big-time win, though, against the Kings last night, catching 7.5 points in that game, despite being shorthanded. A huge step-up spot from Bam Adebayo here. Brooklyn goes to Orlando, catching a bunch. No Karl Anthony Towns tonight for Minnesota. Creates an interesting spot against the Spurs. A lot of people will be looking Anthony Edwards. I'm going to look towards Rudy Gobert. We'll break that down in a bit. This Milwaukee team hitting a very soft upcoming 4 games or so, which is huge for that updated win total that we did play to the over. So excited to see how that plays out. And then we've got Houston and OKC in prime time. These teams just played in Houston, a 10-point line in favor of the Thunder. We'll take tonight's NBA slate and we'll send it into the conference markets here in the association. Not a ton of day-to-day movement, but still some things that stand out here. The one thing I want to hit on just quickly is the fact that we no longer have the Philadelphia 76ers firmly on this graphic. And this uncertainty around whether or not Joel Embiid is going to be returning is incredible. I think it is clear as day that if Embiid does not make it back for the Sixers, that team is going to be one that a lot of people are going to want to play in round 1. Maybe they can win a round. It depends who they play, right? They're playing the Knicks. They're playing the Cavs. It feels winnable. If they're playing the Bucks, if they're playing the Celtics, it certainly will not. If they're playing in Miami, that would be very interesting there. But they're not winning a second round without Joel Embiid. But here's the other interesting part. Let's say Embiid doesn't come back by round 1. If Maxey and Tobias Harris and Buddy Hield, all led by Nick Nurse, their head coach, can win a series, is Embiid ready to go for round 2? It's one of the biggest questions, but you'll also just see the strength of the Boston Celtics in this market. The odds makers are trusting their numbers. They're trusting the advanced metrics. They're trusting their eyes. The Celtics are, by any look, the best team in basketball. So they are, and just because they have had prior failures on the highest of stages, conference finals, of course, losing the finals to the Warriors, is not going to have them drop this number. Because for Boston, it is reasonable, based on their prior success, they will be in the Eastern Conference Finals. If they are in the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to have home court advantage. They're going to certainly be a heavier favorite than a plus 105. It is the first time for me when you kind of size this all up, you could basically say, you know what, maybe there is some value on Boston in the Eastern Conference. Western Conference here, what you still have, the top two records are Minnesota and Oklahoma City. Still obviously way too much unjustifiable respect from the Clippers, but people love wasting their money. Maybe the new uniforms will bring new look next season, not happening this year. Denver is only 1.5 games back, though, of Oklahoma City and Minnesota. I think that is relevant in two spots. It's relevant here in the Western Conference market because if the Nuggets get back up to the 1 seed, it's going to really justify the distance in between Denver and Oklahoma City and Minnesota. But of course, the MVP race. If Jokic has the best record in the West, it's a done deal. The award is his, and he's 1.5 back. SGA, Luka, they are not beating out Nikola Jokic if the Denver Nuggets have the best record in the Western Conference. It's all something for us to keep our eye on. Let's zoom forward here to this college basketball board. We mentioned it. The top 25 tonight certainly increases. Last night, the top 25 had a big one in the Big 12. That was Baylor and TCU. Unfortunately, the Jacoby Walter prop did not get home, but he had a huge second half scoring, 13 points in the half. Hit a couple of three-point shots for Baylor. They got the job done. R.J. Davis, though, was the man of the night on the UNC-Miami game. 21 in the first half, 42 for the game. He was absolutely brilliant for the Tar Heels. Tonight, a couple of interesting spots. Kentucky, 16, goes to Mississippi State. They're now catching 4.5 points. That is a ton. I understand spots. I understand maybe the up-and-down nature of the Kentucky Wildcats. I'm tempted to bet Kentucky plus the 4. It's not a trap if you're well aware of what's going on here. I don't think Mississippi State is 4.5 points better. The world where this team can go out there, grab a cover, but or grab a win, but no cover, would not surprise me one bit. You have some of your ranked mid-majors, Dayton, San Diego State, and Utah State here. Houston is laying double digits, I think 13.5 to the Cincinnati Bearcats. BYU catching 8. Kansas still expected to be without Kevin McCullough. Makes for a very interesting game. We'll talk about the College Board in a moment in quick pick, but let's just put eyes on tonight's ice slate here. I started to already dive in. Duchenne helped us out big time with a NHL best bet last night for the point as he did score a goal in that game. You see the Eastern and Western Conference odds expanded here a little bit as well. But that NHL board, a lot of people will be looking for Toronto. Can Austin Matthews continue the high-level goal scoring here? Colorado at home trying to snap a little mini losing streak at around minus 140 against Dallas. So a couple of interesting spots. Again, you see it's a big board, so we'll go through that all here on a Tuesday night. But the quick pick, as I mentioned, it comes to us from the college basketball landscape, and that is Justin Edwards over 8.5 points. Usually, I am always betting bounce-back spots. Justin Edwards is coming off of the best basketball game of his young career. And this is a keep-it-going spot. Keep the momentum rolling. The key thing for Justin Edwards is the minutes. And if what he did last game does not earn him more minutes on this Kentucky team, then Callis Walsh will break this down. And your NBA slate next right here at Game Time Decisions on SportsGrid. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We're live with you right here on SportsGrid. It is a Tuesday night. It is game time decisions. I want to expand just a little bit on the Justin Edwards prompt. There are a few sides as well on the college game that caught my attention tonight. Two dogs specifically. One of them is Kentucky, which we'll talk more about. I'm also probably going to end up betting BYU. This number is huge now. It is creeping closer to what Kansas laid at Texas. I think BYU is comfortably better than Texas. I think Kansas winning multiple games in a row by margin without Kevin McCullough is a tough ask. I just want double confirmation McCullough's out. Maybe that already exists and he's out indefinitely. I just kind of want to see if we can get that. Also, I think San Jose State is in a decent spot catching the 22.5 late night. But here's the deal with Justin Edwards. Again, if you watch this show, you know for a fact that I like bounce backs, right? The ideal breakdown is this guy has missed this prop in 3 consecutive games. Justin Edwards tonight is coming off of, unquestionably, his best game at Kentucky. All things considered, the best game of his life, most likely. I don't know, maybe he scored 85 at a high school game. But 28 points on 10 of 10 shooting against the number 13 in the country at Alabama at the time, of course, 13, was absolutely incredible. It was the first time he scored 20-plus points as a Kentucky Wildcat. The reason I am willing to go back to Justin Edwards is a few. But one of them is Justin Edwards, and this is the stuff I care about, but Justin Edwards was the top prospect from this heralded Kentucky class. Dillingham, Reed Shepard, DJ Wagner, Aaron Bradshaw. Justin Edwards, at least by ESPN's Top 100, was the top guy. And that's a big reason why Cal has never given up on this kid. That is why he has been in the starting lineup in 25 of 26 of the games that he has played this year for Kentucky. He knows what Justin Edwards can be if he finally clicks, and my goodness, did he click against Alabama. Now, I know that Mississippi State is a different level. First of all, you're not home. You're not at Rupp. You're now going on the road. Alabama is almost outside of the top 100 defensively and is as fast as any team in college basketball. Miss State, not super slow, but relatively is slower and is a top 15 defense in the country. I get it. But I'm not asking him to score 28 again. I'm asking him to go over 8.5. And I think what stood out the most was the 29 minutes that he played in that game against Alabama. The best lineup that they had in that game included Justin Edwards. And if we get him to play 25-plus minutes, he's gone over this prop in 6 of 8 games where he's cleared that mark. If we get him to play 20-plus minutes, he's gone over that in 13 of 17 games. So it really is about workload for Justin Edwards, who has hit this prop 2 games in a row. But again, that workload, 29 minutes is what I'm talking about, gets me over 8.5 points. His number was, because I looked into it before the Bama game, 7.5. And it was juiced to the over. They only moved this a point. We're not buying the top of the market. This isn't the most expensive number we'll see on Justin Edwards, I hope, all year long. No, I don't think that's how it's going to play out. I'm looking for Justin Edwards here to stay hot. You want to play alts 15-plus, I think, is at plus 530. I don't mind it. Because Kentucky, look, they have Rob Dillingham, but I think there's a level of erraticness still to Rob's game that Cal doesn't trust. DJ Wagner's not been the guy. I don't know why he doesn't play Reed Shepherd 40 minutes a night, but he doesn't. I think he would love for Justin Edwards to be a consistent guy every night playing 30 minutes, and that's what we have the potential to see here tonight, and it's why I'm playing him over 8.5 points here against Miss State. Let's go to the NBA side of things. A couple of interesting spots here tonight. One of my favorites is going to be Mikal Bridges over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Look, the Brooklyn Nets are a mess. They are coming off of a nice win here, but you'll see more of that influence tonight on the second leg of a back-to-back there without Ben Simmons, of course. And they're also out with Cam Thomas, who unfortunately did not get us home last night. Left early with an ankle injury. Probably wasn't going to get there regardless, but it obviously maybe cut out a couple of minutes where he could have got up with some extra shots. But on the season, when Ben Simmons is out, he averages, Mikal Bridges, 8.7 rebounds plus assists. Now, that is a ton of games. But when Cam Thomas is out this year and Mikal Bridges plays, he's 7-2 over this number. He's coming off of a loss. He's not missed this in back-to-back games this month. So give me Mikal Bridges over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. The other player prop I'm going to play is Rudy Gobert, 15-plus points. Gobert, so Cat is out tonight. And I absolutely understand anybody who runs to the window on Anthony Edwards. If you were betting earlier in the day, you obviously got great number 27.5. But I'm not going to play Ant over 31.5, 32.5. That is a big-time number. What I am going to do is drop down that Rudy Gobert prop. It was 15, or it is 15.5. Went up to the minus 135 to play the 15-plus because he's landed 15 enough times for me to prefer to play the juice, and I'll tell you why. So he played one game this year without Cat. Cat's only missed one game, which has been a big reason, by the way, why Minnesota has been so much better. Cat missed a ton of basketball last year. Kind of an underrated aspect of why that team didn't live up to those expectations, but that is what it is. Look, so for the one game that Cat missed, Gobert had 21 points on 10 of 13 shooting. I don't want to key in on the 21 points. I want to key in on the 10 of 13 shooting and think about the potential workload that we could see from Rudy Gobert. This season, when he gets at least 10 field goal attempts, he has scored 15 or more points in 13 of the 15 games, and he landed 15 3 times, which is why I played the 15-plus. If you look this season when he gets at least 8 shot attempts, which if he doesn't get 8 shot attempts, that would be pretty stunning. He has had 9 or more in both games against the Spurs this season. I think to some degree he gets up for that matchup against Victor Wembanyama, obviously both from the same country. 19-12 over a 15-plus prop there in this game. Last season, when he played, because he obviously played a ton of games without Cat, but in 12 of those games, he had 8 or more shots. Last year, the workload was obviously a bit skewed. They just weren't as cohesive. But in that run, in those 12 games that he played without Cat and had at least 8 shots, 15-plus points on all of them. So that is a good enough sample size for me here to play the Rudy Gobert number for 15-plus. We've got a team total tonight. That's on the Dallas Mavericks at 114.5. I like Dallas coming off of a loss. Off of a loss, this team plays a lot of overs, and they cover a lot of numbers. But I wanted to specify it down to the team total because they've scored 115-plus in 16 of 23 games that they've played coming off of a loss. And this has been a hot offense. It's one of the reasons they're one of the hottest teams in the NBA. They're averaging over 120 points per game over their last 13. They've scored at least 115 in 11 of those 13 games as well. I know during this run, one of their unders was against the best defense in basketball, the Minnesota Timberwolves, who held them to 87. The Cavs are at the moment the second best defense, but they've also played OKC, put a $146 on them, and Orlando 131. And those are teams that are ranking inside the top 5 defensively as well. And then lastly, aside tonight, give me the Sixers plus 12.5. Look, I mentioned we were going to talk about this a little bit. I don't even think this is a Sixers disrespect line. I think this is insight into how much better the books believe the Boston Celtics are than every single team in the NBA. I think they view this team as 4 points clear, 3 to 4 points clear of every team in the league on a neutral. That's how it reads right now. And that can be true, but it is hard to do consistently. Boston is now on an 8-game win streak. They come out of the break. They cover at Chicago. They cover at New York. Now they're laying 11. Now down to 11.5, but 12.5 to Philly. This team played in Boston without Embiid and Maxey, and the line was 11.5. Maxey's playing, Buddy Hield's here. It's the same number. Now I know Kristaps missed that game, but come on, what are we doing? I think the Philadelphia 76ers are not getting enough respect for what's coming in here. I think the Boston line is a touch overinflated. By the way, they covered that number. It was a Pat Bev all-star game level performance. But I think we got a nice number here on the Philadelphia 76ers, and I'm playing them plus 12.5. So just to recap and re-rack, that's Mikal Bridges over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. It's the Mavs team total over 114.5. It's the Sixers plus 12.5 points against the Boston Celtics. It's Rudy Gobert 15 plus points, and it is Justin Edwards of Kentucky over 8.5 points. There was some interest in the Hawks money line, some interest in Fred VanVleet's assist prop, but I left those to the side for the time being. Again, we might add some college basketball sides. We'll certainly be with you here for a little bit. But coming up next, it's going to be Tom Vecchio live on a Tuesday night on SportsGrid. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened here. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12th team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
If we're in the mix, it means Tom Vecchio is here, a fellow hockey guy. Tom Vecchio. Tom, how are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah, a lot of NHL action tonight. Huge NBA slate as well. My baseball research is picking up, getting ready for the season. Got to lock in a ton of futures for that. I'm ready to go.
Oh, that's right. I don't know. It's been so long since baseball has been mentioned. I quickly went, is Tom a baseball guy? Obviously. Right. You hit the home run champ last year, Matt Olson. So is that the market you're most in? Are you now like labeled the home run champ guy? You kind of have to bet it every year. Tough scene.
Well, yeah, I did hit Matt Olson at 28-1 last year, which I spoke about many times on different shows on the early line, or it wasn't called the early line back then, but I spoke about it with Ben and Donnie.
Right.
So this year, it's like I've got the ball rolling, and as I said to them, Ronald Acuna 19-1 is probably the first player I would consider based on obviously a combination of his skill and the odds. Wow. If there was no odds attached and you were just asking me flat out who do I think does it, I think it's Pete Alonso this year, but he's at plus 850, so I would never bet that number, but I just like him if it was just a prediction of who was going to do it. And I also have some longer shots that I'll be considering along the way.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll be honest, I don't know when baseball is going to start. I don't know. I don't know how much earlier the Dodgers-Padres series is before everybody else plays. I don't know if it's like a week earlier, but we'll do the baseball futures. We'll be in the mix. I know that much. I did see this today. Hey, I'll give you a baseball story quickly. The Dodgers today, and let's see how they did. Were minus 300 against the White Sox in a spring training game. What did you make of that?
I actually have a working theory about the Dodgers in simply betting against them every single day, literally every single day, 162 times this year. If the math works out, it's actually tough to judge because we don't have the money lines for every single game. You can't even find like an average. But if you just theoretically bet against them every single day and they're plus 200, plus 300, the opponents, the Dodgers are going to go, let's just say 110 and 52. Will those 52 times that you win at plus 200, plus 250, whatever it might be, will that still bring you out net positive at the end of the year? If you can lose 66% of the time, but the bets are so individually valuable that you still come out net positive. I'm kind of working on that right now.
I will work on that too. I'm very interested. See, what's interesting is now we're doing a baseball segment. That's fine. I don't care. 103.5. I love stuff like this. So the win total is 103.5. So my question to you is, will you be like, okay, so if they go 100, I need to do this, 105? Because the floor, I mean, if they win 95 games, like that's crazy, but obviously it would be great for you, right?
Right. And part of the problem is you have to bet against them every day. You can't be like, oh, Glasnow's on the mound. I'm not going to bet. You have to stick to it. And that's part of just the reality of the situation. It's more of me just doing it, testing it just for my own interest, that I just think you can come out net positive because the lines are going to be incredibly juiced. But that's like a discussion for a different time.
Yeah, I think, but again, to your point, and I didn't bet it today because it's spring training and I'm just not gonna, but I almost bet the White Sox today because the notion that anyone is minus 300 in a spring training game is outrageous. Now, again, they won. Ohtani, homered in the game because of course he did, right? So you're getting a glimpse, but the fact, like I saw, and I'll shout him out, Gabe Morency, of course, Sports Rage late at night. They're live starting at 10. Make sure you guys are locked in. Again, SportsGrid, we're live all night. He said they're going to be minus 500 against some bad teams. I'm not sure he's wrong. I'm not sure he's wrong that when the Oakland Athletics go to L.A., the Dodgers won't be minus 550 in the game.
Absolutely. Or when they play, they're going to play the Rockies, 15, 16 times, whatever it is. Right. Like my take on it is like, they're not going to go 16-0 against the Rockies. It is what it is. When Glasnow's on the mound, they're going to lose games. And when they have a bullpen game, they're going to win games just because it's baseball. Weird stuff happens. So if you just buy into that variance, you can maybe come out net positive.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I'm gonna look into that a little bit more, get an idea of kind of what it needs to be. All right, let's get to some of the stuff tonight here. We'll start with the ice. I hate to say it, I've done this for like 5 nights in a row where I'll come into the show, I don't have the pick, and then I figure it out when we get there. I couldn't find the pick. The Cal McCarr points prop and assist prop way too juiced. which was very frustrating for me. So I don't have the ice covered tonight. So, Tom, you have to hold it down for us here to start it off. What do you look for? One of your favorite props on the board?
Let's start off with a goal for Cole Caulfield from the Montreal Canadiens. It's only plus 120. He's an elite shooter. He has just 2 goals over his last 10 games. They both came in the same game. He has 221 shots on goal in the season, which not only leads the Canadiens by 75 shots to the next player, it's also the 8th most in the entire league. Going up against the Coyotes, who are on a 12-game losing streak. Habs are also on a 5-game losing streak. Over the last 2 weeks, the Coyotes have allowed 3.70 goals per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations. This is going to be an ugly game. Do not watch this if you are going to be tuning into hockey tonight. Watch Dallas versus Colorado. That's an awesome game. But Cole Caulfield is an elite shooter, and this is a horrible defense right now, and we're banking on a player that shoots 4 or 5 times a game against the actual worst defense in the league right now. And again, he has scored 1 in one game, 2 in the same game, over his last 10 games, and he's constantly shooting. So Cole Caulfield at plus 120 for a goal tonight.
Yeah, I don't mind the look there whatsoever. We're getting some plus money on the board. And then you're rounding this out with a little bit of action in this Devils game here tonight. What do you like?
Yeah, Jack Hughes out on the West Coast taking on the San Jose Sharks. They're horrible. 75.4 total shot attempts allowed per 60 minutes in 5v5 situations over the last 2 weeks, which is the second worst in the league. Hughes is coming off a game where he had just a single shot on goal, which is an extreme outlier because he has at least 4 shots on goal in 9 of his last 10 games and at least 6 shots on goal 6 times. So 4.5 against also an arguably worst defense in the league. I'll take Hughes time and time again, also in the bounce back spot, which we love.
We love a bounce back spot. Duquesne, I think his name is. I was unsure of it, but Matt of the Stars.
Duchesne?
Is that my guy?
He's having an awesome year.
Try to get.
Dude,
well,
and
he
plays the guitar.
Pointless streak.
Well, he went to National against his former team and put up like 4 points in that game. Then he goes down the street and is singing and playing guitar at a bar. He is a very well-rounded player and person.
For some reason, the bar thing, I'm glad I didn't know that going in. But he had 3 straight games at a point, so we're on him at minus 130 to get a point. It was 800th career point. I'm a hockey guy. Everybody knows it. It's what it is. Let's talk hoop. I was going to bet the Hawks money line, and then I got scared. Utah's terrible on the road. Utah's terrible on the road. I just can see it. This pains me because I'm such a Trae Young guy. But I could see Atlanta being like, a lot of shots for everybody else. Getting a lot of touches. Getting excited about it. What are you betting in this Hawks-Jazz game?
That's straight to DeJounte Murray, over 33.5 points plus assists. Like you said, super great game environment, 238 over-under. Both teams in the top 7 of the league when it comes to offensive pace. It's a 2-point spread. We look to the Hawks when Trae Young is off the court. Murray has a 28% usage rate. And if we look at the per 36 numbers, he's averaging basically 25 and 8 per 36 for points and assists. This is a great spot. And this is kind of like a buy low spot for Murray, not only when it comes to prop betting, but also if you're interested in fantasy, DFS specifically. Get in now because he's going to be pushing towards a double-double, if not a triple-double, on a nightly basis. The Hawks constantly getting these high-scoring, insane games because they can't cover. They play absolutely no defense, but they can score with anyone. So Murray, maybe even Bogdanovich, I think Jalen Johnson is in for a great stretch of games as well. Double-doubles basically on a nightly basis for him. So all about the Hawks, but specifically Murray tonight.
Yeah, look, DeJounte Murray has consistently stepped up without Trae Young. I think he's kind of flashed. Reminded people of why they traded for him in the fashion that they did, and why the Lakers thought that could be a swing piece. Obviously, they landed on waiting to see if they can trade for Trae Young this offseason, which we'll see. But yeah, DeJounte Murray's been great all year long, especially when he's out. Donovan Mitchell's been a key guy for you. He's in the mix tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. What are you looking for?
That's over 26.5 points. It's only minus 102 where it was a little while ago. Coming off a game where he had 10 field goal attempts is just, that's not enough for Donovan Mitchell. He's averaging 20 on the season. He should be routinely pushing towards, I'm going to say, at least 25 field goal attempts. It was up to me. Great spot versus the Mavericks. Pace up spot for the Cavs, 231 over under. And I'm trying to think about this realistically. If Donovan Mitchell ends with 21 points tonight, the Cavs lose this game, right? Or they probably lose this game. So in theory, I discussed this on the show this morning. If you were interested and you don't like the 26.5 number and you want to play the under, you should just be playing the Mavs money line as well at plus money, because if Mitchell ends with 21 points, they don't win this. I think Mitchell's awesome. And I think just his shot volume and the overall game environment can get him to 30 points any single night.
See, now you have me curious. Like, what percentage of games have they won without him scoring 25? But see, this is the thing. It's so interesting.
I mean, their most recent
and
game, but they played the Wizards.
No, 100%. I'm not saying they don't exist, right?
Right.
It's not going to be but it's interesting. The correlated parlays, right? Mitchell for 25 plus and a win tonight is not going to pay you out some incredible number, right?
Of course.
But is the percentage different worth it to just that is how you play those numbers, right? Like I don't know. That's just not typically how we bet, but it's interesting.
That's the correlation I look for all the time. If X happens, then Y is probably also happening. So you should just be betting like Z as the actual outcome.
Right. Yeah. Again, it's very interesting. Do let me know where you land on the Dodgers thing, because I'm gonna take some time myself. We're getting someone though did Joe, our producer, did let me know that the Dodgers will be playing real games and then spring training games and then real games again because baseball is the dumbest sport, is awfully ran. And if someone had this idea in 2024, they would never approve this league. Tom, great stuff. We'll be right back here at Game Time Decisions. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
Late
sort of
Night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Let's make it happen. Game Time Decisions is with you on a Tuesday night. I'm Kevin Walsh. Coach James Young is here. JY, how are you, sir?
Hey, man, listen, I got to do better on college basketball. I mean, what happened last night? Carolina up 14, right?
Yep.
Took a minus 13.5. They almost blow it. I had K-State minus 9.5. They're 25, and they lose. And then you kind of called it. Baylor, nice comeback by Baylor. I was stunned they won at TCU. Nice comeback in a low-scoring game.
Yeah, hey, listen, first of all, look, the college is always going to up and down. I will say this, though, JY. I know it's a lot because everyone's going to bet sports in their own specific way, but I'd love to get some more coach-player props in the college game. You know, especially with us both being here in Jersey and having access to them. Now, I know that people appreciate the sides. People love the sides. Don't abandon the sides. But you know what? Player props are a good time. And I know you love the player props here as well. Now, here's the deal, Coach. We get to start this off talking about what is clearly our favorite team to talk about, you and I. And that is the Kentucky Wildcats. They are catching a number, though, against Mississippi State. I know what this spread says. Everybody, I got to bet Mississippi State. Do you agree?
Hell no, I don't agree. Listen, I know people are gonna look at Kentucky and them being young, right? And they make mistakes and they do this, they do that. Did y'all watch what they did on Saturday night? I know it's Alabama, but 118 is 118, no matter how you slice it or dice it. This team is scoring. I know you brought up Edwards before. He could be the guy that can start to really turn it on now because you do get sometimes inconsistent play out of Rob. Obviously, you look at Wagner. By the way, DJ, you need to go back to school for another year. I know you're not, but you need to go back to school for another year. When you look at it, Kev, they got so many dudes. You just need 3 of them to be playing well on any given night with Bradshaw. I think this team is going to make a run. I think Cal needs him to make a run because you and I talked on air. There's rumblings that a lot of these guys are leaving, whether we agree with it or not. I like Kentucky plus the points. I actually would sprinkle it on the money line and they win outright tonight at Mississippi State.
So I'll say this. I was talking with our guy Donnie today, and I mentioned this a few times here. Donnie is interested in betting Kentucky for a national title future. And I know Coach is interested as far as Kentucky goes for a national title future. But Donnie is, and I totally get it, right? Because I'll use Houston as an example. Donnie's mentioned 2 teams. And I'm using Donnie's examples especially because I kind of already have my preseason futures and I'm focused on those before I reassess. Donnie said he wanted Houston to lose at Baylor so their number would drop. That makes a lot of sense. Houston won the game. They're down at 7-1 at most books, right? He said he wanted Kentucky to lose to Bama. I kind of got it. They win. They go from 40 to 30. He's like, all right, well, I hope Kentucky loses tonight. I would argue, JY, that if Kentucky loses tonight, I don't know about betting those national title futures. I think this team needs to be able to come off of that game against Bama and beat Mississippi State or at least stay inside these 4.5 points because consistency is the worry. In a one-game scenario, Kentucky can beat anybody. Houston, UConn, Purdue included. But McNeese State, Indiana State, St. John's, Villanova, they all look at that team and they go, oh, come here, because we know that it might go left. And Rob will have 22 in the game, but DJ unfortunately has 3, and he's on the bench, and Bradshaw has more fouls than points, and it goes wrong. Kentucky has to string them together, JY. They have to.
They have to, because think about it, Kev. We were in this spot of right around this point last week, right? They came off of a great win at Auburn when Cal's team showed up and played some defense. And they turned around and they lost to LSU. So they at some point, as much as you want to talk about teams, yo-yoing, like, you got to start to play your best ball, Kevin. You're getting to that point in the year where you got to play your best. And this is going to be important for these kids, Kevin, to start to string these games along, right? get their mojo going where they win a couple of games in a row. And yeah, maybe their odds are going to drop. They probably will. But if they lose, I can't turn around and say I'm going to bet them to win a national championship because their odds go the other way. It just goes to the fact that they're inconsistent. If you want to bet Kentucky to win a national championship, do it now and hope that they just get on a run.
All right, Joey, the other college spot you're looking for in the early window here, that's the Houston Cougars against the Cincinnati Bearcats. How do you feel about what is currently the top team in the country?
I think what they're going to do is they're going to bring some absolute pain defensively. And I think they're at home. It's a whiteout in Houston. I think I saw something that they have the longest streak of in the top 25 in the currently, or it's weird. It's some weird number that I saw. But when you look at them, this is a game where they should be able to impose their will. You know, Cryer has been better. Shed has been Shed. We've talked, you and I, about Juwan Roberts in his role. Francis inside, Dunn off the bench, and they just D you up. This is a tough spot for a Cincinnati team that's not playing as well as they did earlier in the year. Give me the Houston Cougars minus 13.5 at home.
Let me ask you this, Coach, and I'm going to pull up a couple of other books here, but I know we always take a look at the FanDuel odds. I know you've spent a lot of time this year kind of parsing through these top teams, Houston, Purdue, UConn. Who do you believe should be the favorite to win the national championship?
It's UConn. To me,
Okay.
it's UConn. It's UConn, and then it's Houston. I know this is going to sound really maybe terrible to me. Whoever thinks that Purdue should be favored to win a national championship of those two teams, I know their schedule earlier in the season, but I think these other two teams are more battle tested. And I think, to me, their ability to defend, Kevin, most importantly at the guard spot, with solid rebounding and rim protection and an ability to play half-court basketball, makes them more likely to win the championship than Purdue. Purdue is relying on Zach Edey. We saw what happened. If Zach Edey gets pushed out of his spot outside the charge circle and he's a little too far away from that jump hook and those guards aren't shooting the ball, they're done. They're a one-trick pony. To me, Houston, but the number one team should be UConn.
Okay, so you still believe, because all year long, not all year, but, Houston has it's Ken Palm, but again, we just use it, about a 2.5, 3-point gap, give or take, between them and Purdue, who's actually second, in about the same range for them and UConn. And there's no book you'll find that has anybody other than UConn booked as the national title favorite. And the thing is, because of the nature of it, right? You could still pick off. These are decent payouts, right? Plus 550 UConn, plus 700 Houston, 750 Purdue. If you're willing to bet one of the top teams, some people might bet two of the top teams and just let those numbers go, right? So I think that makes for an interesting situation here, Jay White. Where are you at right now? Because we've talked about these teams, but are you at the moment waiting for the bracket to kind of be finalized? Is there anyone that you're ready to press down and place the ticket on yet with the national championship odds?
Well, I was ready to place it on UConn weeks ago. I think this team, with the way that they're playing and the way that Cam Spencer has become, I don't want to say Andre Dawkins. I don't want to say Dawkins, right? Because Dawkins got so much better, Kevin, off the bounce. But as a sniper to stretch the floor with Carabin, with the way Tristan Newton's been playing, and actually the play of Castles, his game is elevated in the last month and a half. I'm very comfortable putting down that they should win the national championship. But I am starting to think about putting money on Houston as well, because if I can get them both at plus 550, plus 700, I might split my money and put them on those two teams and then take a shot on like a flyer on like a Kentucky, someone way down the board.
Yeah, we'll take a look at all that. Let's talk about some of the NBA spots here tonight. JY, I'm going to Mavs team total of over 114.5. How are you betting Mavs Cavs?
A couple different ways. Number one, I am of the mindset of people are looking too much into that loss at Indiana. right? The Dallas team that's been playing as good at basketball as anybody in the NBA, a Cleveland team that struggled against the spread the last, I think they lost the last 4 against the spread. Why is Dallas 4.5-point underdogs? Like, I that's one line I didn't understand. I think they're going to struggle. You talked about it. They're going to struggle to stop looking in Kyrie. And I'll tell you right now, Tim Hardaway Jr. is going to go off a little bit too. So I have Tim Hardaway Jr. over to 11.5 points. I'm going to go with Dallas plus the 4.5. And I'm going to go, because of the rebounding, and they need him, Daniel Gafford over 4.5 rebounds tonight.
All right, little Daniel Gafford there, Trust. How do you feel about this Mavs team overall, Jay Watt? Because, this is a team you and I talked a lot about in the summer, and I like what I see. I know they just lost in Indiana, but I like a lot of what I'm seeing from the Dallas Mavericks right now.
They're starting to come around. I'm coming around to them because I think there is a pecking order, and it's Luka's team, and Kyrie is settling to that number 2 role. Tim Hardaway Jr., folks, I think should be the 6th man of the year, in my opinion. I know Malik Monk, I still believe is the favorite, if I'm not mistaken. But I thought, Lively's been a good rookie. I know I've knocked Daniel Gafford. They needed front court depth, right? I think Gafford helps them. And honestly, they just had to get Grant Williams the hell out of there. It just was not working. It's a good spot for them. Kevin, they are tied for 5th in the loss column. They could make a run here because, to me, I think New Orleans may slide. I think Phoenix may not get there because I think they're going to be in the play-in tournament. I like this Dallas Mavs team because of their scoring acumen, but I do think they have a little bit of a punch off the bench, and I actually think Daniel Gafford and, to a lesser extent, P.J. Washington helps shore up some of the defensive difficulties that they lost by losing a guy like a Dorian Finney-Smith.
Let me ask you this with the Mavs, and we have time. J.W. is going to stick around for a while. If the playoffs were today, let's say the play-ins, we eliminate the Lakers and the Warriors, and the Mavs drew Minnesota in the 1 versus 8. How would you feel about Dallas going into that series?
Honestly, very good. I think they could. That's not a matchup that Minnesota wants. I think there's just too much scoring in the backcourt, and Luka can put a team on his back. I tell you right now, I don't think you want to see Dallas at all in the first round. I don't care who it is. The only team I think that they'll give them problems, Dallas, is Denver because of the Joker. But everyone else, fair game. Luka, Kyrie, they can put it together. And Jason Kidd is a very much underrated head coach.
He does seem to be growing a bit more favorably in the eyes of people, Jason Kidd. All right, we'll keep breaking down the Hoop Slate tonight right here on SportsGrid. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, what's the word? We're making it happen. It's Kevin Walsh. It's Coach James Young. JY's hanging out. I like this. We got some things to figure out here. JY, where else are you? Let's see. Hold on now. 7 o'clock, NBA picks. I don't want to rush things. I'm still trying to figure out how much I trust Kentucky. What are you on? Orlando against the Brooklyn Nets? Now, see, I'm telling you right now, I love you. If you tell me you like the Magic and mention Sean Marks, you're going to go on a 5-minute ban. Do not tell me you are laying 9 with the Magic because of Sean Marks. What do you like in Orlando, Brooklyn?
I am taking the Magic. Simply put, no Ben Simmons. Second leg of a back-to-back. This is hard. This is really hard. And an Orlando team that's really trying to play for a top 6 seed. Last game, they barely escaped with a game winner of Banchero. I just don't think the Nets are very good. And they beat the Minnesota Timberwolves. Whoop the damn do. Like that's a major accomplishment. I think the Nets get their doors blown off tonight. Give me the Orlando Magic minus the points. Yeah, I did it. I did it.
You did it. No. I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of you there. We have to get into the Knicks thing a little bit. They're in an interesting spot against New Orleans that I'm now overly fascinated in. I'll do this right now because it'll save people from JY and I doing 8 to 9 minutes uninterrupted on Jordan Poole. Everyone associated with the Wizards needs to be fired for messing up the Jordan Poole thing the way that they did. The fact that they have moved him to the bench and he looks exactly like we all expected. I understand he's not that good, but there is no reason he's not averaging 22 a game at minimum. And the fact that they've shifted him to the bench and he just went for 6 threes against the second best defense in basketball is preposterous. 1 minute Jordan Poole break. We come back. It's game time decisions. Game time decisions. I mean, where else would you rather be on a Tuesday night? I'm Kevin Walsh. Coach James Young is sticking around with us. We're live on SportsGrid. We got a lot to go through. Do me a favor, JY. Reset the two big games starting at 7 o'clock in the college basketball world here. Let people know what you are betting in Mississippi State, Kentucky, and Houston, Cincinnati.
I'm going with Kentucky plus the points, sprinkle on the money line. I think they went outright. And then I'm going to go Houston minus 13.5 in a whiteout at home versus Cincinnati.
All right. I am going to, and I mentioned I was going to do this, I am adding 3 sides to the college basketball board. One of them is at 7 o'clock, and it is going to be the Kentucky plus 4.5. I will say this. I get it. Trap, danger, worry, panic, all this stuff. I don't care. I think this is too many points. If this line was pick, I'm not on the game. I know there are people who say, oh, come on, you're taking 4.5. This isn't going to land in between 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's not necessarily true, okay? These games are close. This game will be close the whole way, and I will be happy down the back stretch to have the 4.5 points in my back pocket. I get Mississippi State. Mississippi State being a favorite in this game is understandable, okay? But I will let you know this. When Tennessee showed up here, they laid a number. When Auburn showed up here, they laid a number. And the Bama game was basically picked. Now, you can tell me that all 3 of those teams are better than Kentucky. Maybe they are. Markedly better? Again, it depends how you want to tear it off, okay? But I think this is a spot where the 4.5 now is way too much. Justin Edwards is my favorite bet of the entire night over the 8.5 points. That's how we're looking to get it done. We've got our radio audience in the mix. We're happy to have you with us here on Sirius XM, channel 159. Kevin Walsh and Coach James Young. JY, I want to keep going through your NBA picks here tonight and see where you're finding some value. But before we do that, the Knicks-Pelicans game is one that has people's attention. It's a 6.5-point line. The Knicks are out. We know Randall. We know OG Anunoby. But now Isaiah Hartenstein and, of course, Jalen Brunson, the big one, out. And this is only the second time this year that Brunson and Randall have missed the same game. The prior time, it was against the Dallas Mavericks. It was in the Garden. It happened actually about 3 weeks ago. And Dallas laid 5.5. They won that game by 14 points. What do you think of this Knicks game here tonight, JY, with basically 4 of the 5 starting lineup members out for this game?
Duck. This may not be good. I mean, if you want to start looking at props, maybe you can look at DiVincenzo, but I think his market's going to be way, way too high. I would be looking at Deuce McBride when he's gotten minutes. I know I took him last night; he didn't come through for me, but that was at a very low number. I'm trying to see, nothing on BetMGM, but shop around so you can find something on someone like the Deuce McBride, and then maybe look at a double-double market. It's probably near minus money or even money. Precious Achiuwa, minus 120, has rebounded the ball extremely well for the Knicks. His points prop is at 12.5. I'm not seeing where his rebounds are, but Precious has played really well, 10.5. So I would go double-double Precious Achiuwa minus 120 on BetMGM.
All right. By the way, the other 2 college sides I'm adding, I've talked about them. Give me BYU plus 8. Give me San Jose State plus 21.5. The fact that Kansas is playing without McCullough for the second game in a row, I think it's going to be too much. I know it's the 5th game you'll have missed all year, but I think this is a nice spot to be betting on BYU. I like this BYU team. It looks like a little bit more than the market. I'm fine with that. And then I think this is a good spot. San Diego State basically spent every game in a row playing all the best teams in this conference. The looking of the trap spot was at Fresno. They smashed that team by 30. Now, I think it's a little bit more difficult to get up again and lay 21.5 points, which is what they're laying tonight. So I like this spot here on San Jose State. JY, did you bet anything else on tonight's college board? Was there anything else that was catching your attention here with a few other ranked teams in action?
I like Texas Tech minus the points at home versus Texas. The Texas team, I think, is not very good. Grant McCaslin's done as good of a job as anyone in the country. He doesn't get enough credit for what he's done. I'm going to take Texas Tech minus 3.5. And I went the other way. I did take Kansas. I know McCullers is out, but it's kind of like this Kentucky team. At some point, these teams got to start to get going. And I think this is a spot where they're at home, they're at Fog Island, they play well. BYU sometimes struggles on the road. I took Kansas minus the points.
Let me ask you, with this Kansas team, though, JY, with the Kevin McCullough injury, is this a team that can make a, Sweet 16, Elite 8 run still if McCullough is going to be out for a while? Do you think that they're still deep enough to make that type of run?
Sweet 16, yes. They need McCullers if they want to get all the way to possibly a Final Four. And I think Kansas is an interesting case because they're one of the teams, Kevin, that I want to see where they get slotted, right? Could they get themselves to a one line? I guess if they beat Houston, and I think that's the finale of the Big 12 regular season, I'm not mistaken, is Kansas and Houston, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They still have to play one more time. If Kansas finds a way to get themselves to a two line and with Arizona as the one, honestly, I would honestly take Kansas over Arizona in that spot. So, but they need McCullers in order to do so. He's that junkyard dog, kind of, if you think about it, folks, for NBA, like he's like the Aaron Gordon, but a better jump shot, right? Does a little bit of everything, rebounds, defends, runs the floor, hits shots. I think he's very important to that team.
Yeah, I think you could argue he's their best player. I know a lot of people would still say Hunter Dickinson.
I think
he's leading the team in scoring, JY, right? I mean, I think any way you want to slice it. And, right now they're projected on the 2 line. And, it's always interesting how people want to play this. You have your brackets, you have your betting, but we are kind of now in a situation where every single year a 15 seed seems to win a game. And, if Kansas is going to roll into one of these games and be without their most important player, their best player, however you want to slice it, that's concerning. And again, it's also, look, yes, it does fit into my narrative that I'll probably end up fading the Big 12 in the tournament because I can't stand that this conference is going to put the entire conference basically in the NCAA tournament. It just drives me nuts. Have we not learned that lesson enough when, trying to put the entire Big Ten in and watching them embarrass themselves every year? But again, I think it's really interesting. But I'll say this, to Coach's point, you're going to get a good look tonight. I know that, unless they go much deeper, right? You're not going to play Texas, BYU caliber teams early consecutively. But keep in mind, they were about a 10-point favorite against Texas. They're an 8-point favorite tonight. They're home for both of these games. If Kansas gets upset here tonight by BYU, which I think is possible, I know JY does not, but if they do, it's a little bit of insight into what life could look like for the Jayhawks without McCullough. We are coming up against the break, though. We've still got a full NBA board to break down for you with Coach James Young, plus some more NHL breakdowns with Joe Madden. And Dave Sharapan will be here as well. It's a Tuesday night on SportsGrid. We'll be right back. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Just watching the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on SportsGrid, I'm Kevin Walsh, Coach James Young in the mix, big time on a Tuesday night. JY, let's hit this NBA board. Let me know where you're finding some value here. We do have three games that just started: Cavs, Mavs, Magic, Nets, and Wizards, Warriors. That 7:30 window has Hawks, Jazz, Celtics, Sixers, and Knicks, Pelicans. We talked a little bit about a lot of these games, but we've not gotten to this matchup yet in Boston, where the Celtics are a double-digit favorite against the Philadelphia 76ers. What are you looking for here, JY?
I'm going to go, ready for this, to the grizzled veteran. I'm going Al Horford. Yes, Al Horford over 11.5, some places 12.5 now, points plus rebounds. Over 10 of his last 15 games. I think this is a game because he's got to guard Paul Reed. He's going to probably be in the lineup a little bit. He's playing good basketball. Father Time has not caught up to him yet. It's coming, folks. It just hasn't here yet. Al Horford, over 12.5 points plus rebounds tonight.
Joe, are you surprised at all at the size of this line here tonight?
Yeah.
Seeing Boston 11.5, 12.5 point favorite?
Yes. I absolutely. I mean, I heard you, in the car on the way in, and it really speaks to what the books think is the overwhelming dominance of the Boston Celtics. And I just think this is a lot of points for a team that, if with Maxey, with Tobias Harris, even with the Kelly Oubre, they can get hot, Kevin. And if this was 6.5, 7.5, I'd get it. 12.5? Way too many points. I'm not betting it, but if I bet aside, I would have took the points tonight.
All right, let's take a look then at the Milwaukee Bucks, JY. A team that you and I bet on their updated win total of 50.5, and the start could not be better. They win in Minnesota. They dominate in Philadelphia. Now back home, ironically enough, the scariest game that they've played so far. I didn't take the points with Charlotte because I actually thought the number was light. I thought it would be a little bit more. I thought this might be 15.5, 16.5, so I stayed away from it. But man, this is a spot that I shouldn't be worried about with the Bucks, but a part of me really is.
And it's crazy that you say that because I couldn't touch the total or the side as well. I went Giannis over 29.5 points. And maybe my only concern, Kevin, is if this is a blowout, he may not need to get there. So another way you may want to look at it, I saw, I believe, on BetMGM, Giannis over 6.5 points for the first quarter. You figure if he gets going, it's going to be going early. To me, if you don't want to take the over 29.5, Look at Giannis to go over 6.5 points in the first quarter tonight.
I think those, the quarter betting stuff, JY, obviously, when a guy's on a heater, it helps. When a guy can kind of come out dialed. And I think back home, I like that look for Giannis. I do. So he's occasionally been having some slow starts, and then he goes crazy in the third quarter. I mean, the amount of times that I've seen, it's not been that many, but it's been a few, where he has 12 points at the break, live prop of 25.5. He has 25 going into the fourth quarter. I mean, it's just what he's capable of. We absolutely know that, and we'll see how he steps up here tonight. Let me ask you, JY, you and I haven't talked a lot about this, but Victor Wembanyama has completely run away with the Rookie of the Year award, at least through the lens of the odds. And Wemby has now 3 straight games with 5 blocks. He's leading the league in blocks per game at 3.3. What do you make of Victor Wembanyama tonight, catching double digits here against the Minnesota Timberwolves? And is this a game you're looking to bet? And again, just kind of the way Wemby is seemingly shut the door on Chet Holmgren for Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he shut the door, threw away the key here. And I think, when you look at Minnesota, you talk about, I think you made a really good analysis about looking at a player like Rudy Gobert tonight and his points prop. I think he went 15 plus. I think it was 15.5 if I heard you earlier on my way in. But to me, a San Antonio team that's been better, 3-2 against spread. Their last 5 games, they do have some close losses. Minnesota's been a pretty good against spread. I still think Minnesota gets there, but I'm really intrigued by this matchup tonight of the 2 Frenchmen going against each other. I think Rudy will get busy inside. I think Wemby goes off outside. And Kevin, let me ask you this. And I was thinking about this, I think yesterday, the day before. Is Wemby a top 25 or top 20 player yet in the NBA right now? Or is he outside of your top 25? I think he's top 20.
He's in there. No, he's within the top 25. I think I saw some people like a month and a half in be like, you should bet Wemby for MVP. I get it, but he obviously had 0 chance to win league MVP. Like, obviously. But you want to, kind of jump ahead, JY. I'm very interested to see what his price will be next year. Again, he isn't playing enough minutes to have a chance to win the award, right? He isn't playing enough minutes to have a chance. But you would think that could stop next year. They apparently, along with the Lakers, will be interested in trading for Trae Young, and that all of a sudden gives Wemby. I mean, basically, the idea is nobody on the Spurs knows how to get him the basketball.
No, that's true.
He could average next year, if they get Trae Young, JY, that Victor Wembanyama stat line,
30.
27, 12 with 4 assists and 4 blocks. I don't know. Is that crazy? Does that sound nuts?
Kevin, he's averaging 21 a game in 28.5 minutes. I also think San Antonio, and I wonder if they do this, I think they got to move Keldon Johnson. I think he'll probably be part of the Trae Young package because you could send around Keldon and some picks. You got to move one of the forwards, and it's going to be Keldon. You're not going to move Sohan. The other guy's Collins. I think he stinks, but whatever. But the heater that Wemby has been on as of late, averaging this month 21 points per game, in 28 minutes. Like, Kevin, some of these stat lines he's putting up, 27 points against Toronto in 29 minutes. Like, the guy has played over 30 minutes. I'm looking at the season, Kevin. I think 7-8 times, but he hasn't done it since the 29th of January. Like, I don't, Kevin, I don't even think there's a game he's played 35 minutes. So if you up it once, Golden State. So if you get him to 35 minutes a night, right, with a comparable point guard that you have to respect in Trae, I think 27, 28 points per game is not out of the question with Wemby. I think when he puts on the weight, forget Steve was if he puts on weight, it's going to be Giannis. He is Giannis on the Barry Bonds steroid Balco diet. I mean, this guy will be Mount Rushmore-esque if he puts on a weight because he really, Kevin, can do it all, and he impacts the game in more ways than, honestly, at his age, that I've ever seen.
Yeah, look, again, I think Wemby is spectacular. I mentioned it the other day. A lot of people are wrapped up in the face of the NBA thing. He is the answer. It's Tatum, SGA, and none of these guys. It's none of these guys. It's Victor Wembanyama, and that'll be on display. Quickly, Coach, any thoughts on that Thunder Rockets game tonight? A near double-digit line for OKC. These teams playing close back-to-back?
No, I like OKC minus the points. I also like Atlanta on the money line to win. And Detroit, I'm not touching it. They're in a bad mood. Miami, minus 6.5, now 7.5. I think they beat Portland by 15 plus. They're playing well.
All right, there you go. Coach James Young helping us out here on Game Time Decisions. Joe Madden is in next.
Introducing Sports Injury Central's new feature, The Injury Edge, your NFL matchup cheat sheet. See all the significant injury mismatches broken down by offense and defense to highlight where the advantages lie. All for only $2.99 a week. How can you even consider making a bet or setting your fantasy lineup without knowing the injury mismatches? Go to sixscore.com today and get this week's Injury Edge.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Just watched the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid.
If Tibbs can find a way to get the Knicks rolling again as everybody comes back, folks, they are going to shoot up the Eastern Conference standings. They're at 33 wins. I think the Knicks have a chance to maybe, folks, ready? You think I'm crazy? They could get all the way to 2. It is not out of the question.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from 3 on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but 2 coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on sports.
Live on SportsGrid, it is a Tuesday night, which means we have a packed slate of NHL action. And to help us break down the remaining games, that would be Joe Madden. Joe, how are you?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you doing tonight?
I'm feeling good. We've got eyeballs on a Kentucky Mississippi State game that has been an exciting start. We'll see how the Wildcats can bounce back from an early deficit. But let's get to the ice here, Joe, because there's a lot of good games. And I want to start with the one that I think most people are excited for, which is Colorado and Dallas. This Avs team, see, I learned my lesson. They look to be in a very similar spot to what the Oilers were in when they played Boston and lost. So I was, I'll bet the Avs. I took a step back. How are you approaching the game with Colorado and Dallas?
I have to look at Colorado. They're one of the favorites that I actually do like tonight. I think looking at the Dallas Stars here, this team on the second night of a back-to-back after the overtime loss last night versus the Islanders is going to come out and struggle. And I do think last night they were on that look ahead already with these two teams sitting here in the Central. We got the Avs sitting third and the Dallas Stars sitting first. But it's the Avs for me at home. Looking at their home record, 22-6 straight up at home. We know Nathan McKinnon is riding that huge point streak, 28 points so far at home on the season. And I do think he continues here. And I think the Avs have enough to get this win over the Dallas Stars. I just think the Dallas Stars are inconsistent. And even with Jake Ottinger in goal, I think this is going to be an absolute battle out there. Too many playmakers for Colorado at home tonight, Kevin, for me.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I guess this is where I realized I still don't know as much as I'd like to about hockey, but I thought I would get a Cal McCarr, like points prop or assist prop low.
Yeah.
But it was way too expensive for what I was expecting. Again, it doesn't mean it can't come in, but the points prop is, for a single point is, close to minus 300, for an assist, minus 175. So it's just a little out of my range, but I do like to look on the Avs. Let's go to some of the 8 o'clock window here. The Ottawa Senators are in action tonight, Joe. And I know that, this at times can be an up and down team, but they go to Nashville against the Predators. What are you looking for?
Okay, they're coming off their worst game of the season last night. Kevin, I sat here and told you last night every reason why you should take the Ottawa Senators, and the Washington Capitals completely dominated, getting the huge win over them. I expect the bounce back here out of the Ottawa Senators. I think they have everything in them to be able to get this win, and we're getting great plus money. When you look at the Nashville Predators, they are returning from a road trip, and it was a very successful road trip. They went 5-0 on that road trip. Now they're back home. This is a typical letdown spot for teams, especially off such successful road trips, versus an Ottawa Senators team that performance was absolutely awful out of them. They had been rolling hot before that, and I really do think they overlooked the Capitals and thought they were going to have a nice, easy win. They rolled in as the road favorite last night, right around that minus 137 mark, and completely couldn't get it done. So looking at them here tonight with the plus money, I've got to back them. With Korpisalo in net, I think they will have enough. Now, I do think this one trends to that over in this one, because you look at Korpisalo last night, he took over for Forsberg after the first 20 minutes. So he played 40 minutes out there on the ice. We know the Predators can score the goals as well. So team total for the Senators, team total for the Preds, I like all of them. I really do think higher scoring game here, and we'll have success on the Senators on the road with that plus money.
All right, Joe, maybe a lower scoring situation in Winnipeg. You've mentioned that they play some lower scoring hockey, and they are a home favorite against the St. Louis Blues, total 5.5. How are you looking to attack this game?
Okay, I wanted to tack this and take the full game under that total, but I just couldn't get there because we know the Winnipeg Jets are able to score. I isolated the St. Louis Blues here. Their team total under 2.5. I just don't think that they can be able to put up those goals. They've struggled to put up the goals versus the Winnipeg Jets, and we look at Boussoit in net tonight. And while it's not Connor Hellebuck, it's kind of like when you look at the Boston Bruins and Allmark and Swayman, you don't have that huge drop-off. Boussoit is a solid goalie out there. He's got a 2.28 goals against average and a 920 save percentage. I think he can do enough in this one to really limit the St. Louis Blues. They don't have the firepower, I think, to get that puck past him tonight. I'm going to take their team total under the 2.5, Kevin.
All right, certainly like the look there, Joe. Let's keep going through this board here. We got the Minnesota Wild as a home dog against the Carolina Hurricanes here. This total 6.5, but a lot of juice on the under. What are you expecting in this game?
I'm expecting the Wild to be able to pull off the complete upset win here at home. I'm just not loving Carolina in this situation. When we look at them versus the Wild, it's the goaltending here that I do think can get them the win. Gustafsson has been phenomenally strong for the Minnesota Wild versus the Carolina Hurricanes. You can take his safe shots on goal over the 28.5. He's had 2 career starts versus the Carolina Hurricanes. He's got a 1.49 goals against average in those 2 starts, and his save percentage 9.52. So this is a team that he absolutely can beat. Now, I do think this is a low-scoring defensive battle. We know how strong Carolina is out there on the defensive side of the puck, but I do think the Minnesota Wild, with the plus money we're getting on them at home, has every ability to win this in a low-scoring 2-1 style game. So give me the Wild, that plus money, and Gustafsson. I love his prop over that 28.5. The Wild do allow their goaltenders to be hit hard, and I think Gustafsson will do enough.
All right, Joe, let's move it over now to this 9 o'clock window here. Calgary is a minus 126 home favorite against the LA Kings. I think a lot of respect for the Kings, it appears, on this money line despite their dog price. This total's booked at 5.5. How do you feel about Calgary, LA?
Okay, this is going to be one of those situations where Calgary absolutely has to show up and not get in that penalty box, because otherwise we will see the LA Kings be able to convert. Now, Calgary has a really strong kill out there right around that 82% mark, but it's the LA Kings and their power play is strong. I'm looking for this to go back to a defensive battle. We know Calgary 5-on-5 has been playing great hockey and has been able to score, but the Kings are built on the defense, and I really do think Calgary needs to lock down as well in this one. I'm going to take the under 5.5, and I do think another way to look would be the Kings team total to the under 2.5. We look at the LA Kings, and they've struggled to score in the month of February. They're only averaging that 2.56 goals per game, while overall on the season, they're averaging 3.05. So Kempe is expected to be out of this lineup. I do think isolating the Kings with Kempe out is a solid way to go, because if this one goes over, I think it's because Calgary maybe gets that empty netter in the 4-2 situation. So I love the plus money. We're getting to the under 5.5, but I also like the Kings team total under that 2.5, Kevin.
All right, there you go. Again, there's a lot of games live right now, but a lot more coming up. So let's keep it moving here, Joe, because we've got to get this game between the Canucks and the Pittsburgh Penguins here. Vancouver, a home favorite in this matchup against Sid the Kid and Pittsburgh. How do you find some value?
I am so excited for this one, and I really do think lots of people are doubting the Vancouver Canucks out here. They're not really getting the respect in the marketplace. Lots of people thinking like the shine is going to wear off on this team, and I'm not buying into it. While the Pittsburgh Penguins have been a strong team, Sidney Crosby so phenomenally good out there, I do think Vancouver can get a big win in this one. They're too juicy on the money line, but looking at them on the puck line, laying a goal and a half is coming in at plus 150. This team's sitting 18-9 on the puck line on the season at home. I think they have every opportunity with all their playmakers on offense to be able to play a huge game here, cover that puck line, and hit Tristan Jarry hard. So I'm taking the Vancouver Canucks puck line plus money at plus 150, Kevin.
You know, it's funny because, again, for me, and we talk about this, but so often I feel I only have ever considered puck lines when a team is minus 220. And it's like, oh, I'm just trying to get minus 110. But that's a lot of plus money. And if Vancouver wins tonight, they certainly could win by margin here against Pittsburgh. So I love bringing the plus money into the fold here, Joe. We'll go to this game with the Sharks coming up next year. We've got San Jose against the New Jersey Devils. And, you know, this New Jersey, man, minus 250 just feels like a lot to get to with the Devils on the road. Yeah. How do you feel about their matchup with San Jose?
This is a game that can really go either way. The New Jersey Devils do not instill a lot of faith in people, but they should be able to come out and beat the San Jose Sharks. But when we look at the last 10 matchups between these teams, Kevin, it's not pretty for the New Jersey Devils. The Sharks have either won or covered that puck line in the last 10. So taking the New Jersey Devils on the puck line just doesn't make sense to me, even though I think they are the stronger team. Looking at the Sharks here, I don't have faith in them. I can't sit here and stomach taking them on the puck line or straight up for the win, but I could see a way that they could win this game versus New Jersey. I'm going to look at the first period, and I expect the fireworks to come out in the first period, and I take the over 1.5 at minus 132, and I am laying juice here, but this way. If it's the Sharks, then I'm okay. And if it's the Devils to come out and score too, I'm okay. Or both of these teams to score. I just don't have faith in either right now. And that's a really hard thing to say against the New Jersey Devils, who do have a powerful offense, but you can't trust them out there, especially on the road, laying this much juice. I don't want to touch them with a 10-foot pole, Kevin.
All right, quickly, Joe, before we let you go, a number I think a lot of people are going to be looking at is Toronto minus 146 live against Vegas, or maybe an over 4.5. This looks like it's going to be a scoreless first period here with Toronto and Vegas. Are you interested in this game live?
Yeah, I'm absolutely all over Vegas in this one. I know Toronto just won it last week, but I think Vegas has every opportunity. Jack Eichel back out there on the ice, but I did expect this to be a playoff style game. That under 4.5 is a scary place to be at plus 114, but I couldn't take this to the over. I really do think this is a 2-1 style game that probably is won in overtime. So give me Vegas plus 114 and the under 4.5, Kevin.
All right, there we go. Perfect breakdown as always. Joe Madden helping us out on a Tuesday night here at his Game Time Decisions. Joe, appreciate it. Best of luck.
Thanks, Kevin. You too.
All right, great stuff there. We've got Dave Sharapan in the mix next here on Game Time Decisions. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game Time Decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
This
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, folks, we're in the mix with you here on a Tuesday night. It is Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined by Dave Sharapan. And I wish you all could have seen my authentic reaction to Dave's outfit tonight. Man, I got to tell you, Dave, if someone said, hey, what's the craziest thing you've seen Sharapan wear? There's been some big hats. There's been some colorful outfits. Yeah. This, for me, takes the cake. 2 hockey teams playing head-to-head tonight. Colors not even in the same ballpark. Vegas hat, Maple Leafs shirt, nuts.
That's the game. That's at least the early game on a board. You can't decide for a side. What do? You play the total. That's what we're looking at. This has been a bar burner. 0-0 after 1. He said, I mean, if I come in all the Vegas stuff, they're going to say, you're just wearing Vegas stuff because you live there. If I come into Toronto stuff, they'll be like, you're just pandering to Cam because he's going to be on the show later. We're just keeping it real. Get this game under. That's all. We got a hockey game. That's it.
Oh, you like the under?
Well, let's keep it going. I'm afraid to even say it after the way things have gone the last couple of days. What's
been going on?
Yeah, it's just it's Sunday. I had one of those like Penguins Flyers situations. I said, we'll maybe go the under. We'll go against everybody. 7.5 in game. It's 3-3. I said, 10.5 under. We're good. We got to be good. Final score 7-6. I said, this is the final score.
Not 7-6. How you drew it up.
No, not exactly Sunday. No. So
all right.
Yeah, we're gonna just play it easy right now.
I will tell you this. It was a shame you were not here yesterday because you did miss genuinely, no exaggerating, my best bet of the hockey season so far. Sometimes, and every bettor goes through this, right? We all have our respective units, and I feel at times the frequency of, man, I love this, step up, get punched in the head is very frustrating. But Matt Duchene, could be anything. But there you go. Him to record a point was minus 130 last night against the Isles. He scored their first goal of the game. It was the most I've liked a hockey bet. We stepped up for it, and it came in. And I was really excited to get your take on it. But you were out. I don't know why. It's all good. People have days off, or you were ill. Either were options. But you did miss out on it. And I'm not on the ice tonight. I couldn't force a pick. I didn't like anything.
You didn't like anything on the board today?
Okay, that's not
With
true.
All of these games?
That's not true.
Too much on the menu?
But I'm now No. I found exactly what I wanted. The problem is I had a real you don't know how as much hockey as you think kid moment. So Cal McCarr, who I know is great, okay?
Yes.
I know he's great.
Yes.
Has had a nothing month. He's done nothing all month, okay? So I thought maybe we got some value tonight. What's he to get a point? Oh, my goodness, it's minus 290. Okay, so maybe we'll then bet the assist. Oh, my goodness, it's almost minus 200. I'm out of here. And I left. I could bet him for 2 points, but I see them we're climbing the ladder unnecessarily. Yeah. He's only got 3 points in a month. I couldn't climb that ladder.
No. That's a really good hockey game tonight, too. Okay, that's one that I think, we'll have an eye on here at the house for sure. Stars and Avalanche. I mean, the first thought there is this is the Western Conference Final preview. This very well could be it. Something to keep an eye on. Avalanche at home have been just straight cash. And you catch the Stars on a weird scheduling quirk on a back-to-back where they were home in Dallas, lose to the Islanders yesterday in another under game, and go to Colorado tonight in what should be an over game. But good move. The only part, you can play McKinnon to get a point if you want to dabble. He gets a point in every home game. Wetzel has a bet on him to get a point in every home game he plays this season. He's 28 for 28. So,
yeah,
there's just a little side piece for you if you feel the need to get involved in the hockey. But anything in Pittsburgh, Vancouver later, that's another one. There's a big board.
Yeah, I'll tell you this. Listen, I'm not reinventing the wheel here, okay? And I'm not going to pretend that I am. But I have a very simple format for these games. I need a home team that's favored with a total of 6.5. That's where we go, okay? Perfect. We very rarely break off that, okay? And we're looking for their best players, and we're trying to figure out who's due, and that's kind of the way it lines up mostly, all right? But, look, we'll see. Again, I've enjoyed the ice. That's because it's largely been going well. But I couldn't force one tonight. Especially the McCall. I couldn't bet Cal. I'm not as smart as I think I am. The books were prepared. Any NBA games that caught your eye tonight?
What's going on with the Knicks? What happened with that game? I did my other shows and then went away and woke up and saw that the morning line was 3.5, 4. It closed 6.5. No Brunson?
Yeah, one's out. No.
Oh.
No Brunson.
Yes.
No Brunson, no
Knicks
Randall, no OG, no Hartenstein. They're out.
Which means no cover for the Pelicans. It's easy. That's usually what that ends up meaning. So, they win. They don't cover. The Knicks may win outright.
Knicks by a lot.
And then OKC, big number tonight against Houston. Houston's so bad on the road.
You know what's funny, though?
What?
Yeah, but you know what's interesting? So they just played Houston, right?
Yeah.
In Houston, laid 6.5. Okay?
Right.
So we flip. So we flip tonight. Let's see where the number is now. Let's see. What do we have? Is it down to 9.5?
I got
it's still at 10. All right.
Yeah.
I see it 10. Right? But call it 10.5. It'll make it easy. That means that we're going home court worth 2 points. Hang the number, right? We go 6.5 to neutral, it's 8.5. We go to Oklahoma City, it's 10.5. All good. But they didn't move it a touch for the fact that they just smashed them. They didn't move it a touch considering how much better Houston is at home than on the road, right? And in fact, there's more 10s in the market than 10.5. Yeah. So I was like, oh, maybe the Rockets can hang with inside the number, but I'm tired of kind of getting punched in the head by the Thunder, which has happened a few times. So I'm good.
I think a lot of people. I think.
Yeah, I'm good.
K-Dub,
I'm good on that number.
The NBA gets so hard after the All-Star break because the home teams against bad teams, good home teams against bad road teams, there's an extra point thrown on there, minimum. There just is on the favorites. Today? Look at the board. Who's playing Washington against Golden State? I mean, people in the building that are season ticket holders for Washington not doing that today. Who's taking the Celtics or who's not taking the Celtics against the Sixers? Another big number.
I'm on the Sixers.
Got to be on the Sixers.
I'm on the Sixers.
And under that game?
Nah, I didn't have a good read on the total. I spoke to someone who told me they liked the over, but I didn't have I don't know. I was going to bet the Hawks, and I pulled back, and they're about to be up 12-0.
Yeah.
So that's a little annoying.
That's a good start.
It doesn't mean that they're going to win and cover, but that's a little annoying.
Yeah.
Right away, 12-0. So there's that.
It's early.
There's that.
Fine. What about Detroit catching all those points against the Bulls coming up? That's another one.
Yeah, second leg of a back-to-back. I mean, is Detroit going to be fired up after what happened last night?
Yes.
Are they though? I mean, Monty's terrible. We told people this. He's terrible.
Come on.
What? He is. He's no good.
It's hard to believe the Bulls are laying double digits. That's when you look at that one and you go, okay, when you're in the book and they're coming in and they're putting the Bulls in the teasers and they're just laying the Bulls. Okay, listen, if you want to bet that, good, that's fine. But the books are glad to take it. How about this college basketball board? I mean, there's a lot going on.
Kentucky hit a big three before the half, cut it to 8. The game is closer than the score suggests. I'll say that. but it doesn't really matter, does it?
No.
You know what I mean? Like the line's 4.5. So it doesn't really matter. I can't call up the books and say, hey, I'd like you to grade that as a Kentucky 4-point loss. It was closer than the number suggests.
Have you seen these
you,
games like that? What
Go
about
ahead.
the bad teams in college basketball? Georgetown catching a boatload today against Villanova. Second half just started. I mean, how do you take Georgetown at this point? You can't.
Well, I tell you how you take Georgetown. Most people, it's their first time taking Georgetown, and then it's their last time taking Georgetown. Happened to me. Happened to me. You know, I think I took DePaul once, and then that was it. And then we were good. All right, never mind.
Yeah.
Not doing that again. That's how these things go. I got to tell you, Dave, I'm starting to, and I shouldn't, I'm starting to hate this Houston team. I am.
Oh.
How many bets came in this weekend on this Houston team for beating Baylor to win the title?
Well, a lot. That's I mean, after that happened, they're the odds-on favorite. Look when you see the board for the NCAA futures, they're the odds-on favorite now. And again, not that it's not justified, but I just don't know if they have that thing. I'm not sold on them myself, but listen, there's a lot of people that are. There's a lot of people in the books, a lot of people that I know that'll be rooting against them. This is what ultimately what ends up happening. When you work in the book and you're kind of a company guy, or you're rooting at least for maybe getting a bonus, which they never come through with. It's amazing. But when you root for what the house needs, you know, you go, I'm rooting against Houston. Okay. I'm rooting against Purdue. That's easy. And I'm rooting against UConn. Those are the three odds-on favorites. Only ones left in single digits in NCAA futures. Then after that, it's a crapshoot. You start to take shots. I mean, do you go on North Carolina after yesterday, K-Dub? I don't know. A lot of talk about Kentucky. They're going to go to Mississippi State and lose today.
Right. I'll say this, and we had this conversation earlier in the show, but you know, the idea, if Kentucky loses, we're going to get some more value. If Kentucky loses, it's a lot of insight as to what you can expect in this tournament. Here's what you need out of Kentucky if you want to make money on the ticket. Round one, they need to play a team they're much better than, play terribly and sneak out the win. Then they need to crack whoever they play in the round of 32 because they just played a bad game. And now you're in the Sweet 16. You're holding 30, 35, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Hope that somebody eliminated, they're a favorite in the game. Hope somebody eliminated somebody. And then at the Elite Eight, tap out. And you just start playing off the number. But that's about it. That feels about it.
That's about
Dave.
right. You just laid it out.
I appreciate it. We'll do it again on Thursday. We'll get you best bet on the way out. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
It's rare in this day and age of the NBA to, miss one player and have the wheels fall off.
They're kind of hanging on to one of those final play-in tournament positions in the Eastern Conference. And there are teams like the Nets and the Bulls and the Raptors who are right in that same vicinity, who now they're looking and saying, well, if the Hawks are without a player like Trae Young, and we talk about how important he is, averaging over 26 points.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Watch the final seconds of Illinois and Penn State, and by Dave's reaction, you think you know what happened there. How about that, Dave? How about that?
We're off the rundown. Sorry. Storm the court. You beat the 12 team in the country. That's fine. Second best in the Big Ten. That's fine. We are Penn State. Look at the crew jumping. This is so much fun.
In-game live, prime time, only on SportsGrid. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. The early line.
Magical and historic season in Lincoln, Nebraska continues.
He is the best player in the NBA, but also in the biggest moments where the national media is watching.
Newswire.
Something that we have never seen happen before with one of the iconic coaches in the game.
Pharrell, coast to coast.
The team covers. It's automatic. It's every time. Not sometimes. It's every time.
Game time decisions.
Luka is actually far more dangerous from three on the road this year than at home.
This game here tonight, you may want to consider taking as many points as humanly possible.
In-game live, prime time.
We got not one, but two coaches fired systems in place.
Sports Rage
this
late
sort of
night.
has letdown written all over it. It's going to be hard to match the emotion that they played with the other night.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Live right here on SportsGrid, we close out Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Coming up next, we'll, of course, be in-game live, so make sure you stay locked here on SportsGrid. A lot of good action for the group to cover, including Kentucky trailing Mississippi State by 8 at the break there. We are rooting on the Kentucky plus 4.5, as well as Justin Edwards over. Some foul trouble for Edwards, costing him the valuable minutes that we were banking on. He will start in the second half. Hopefully he can start to catch fire. He does have 2 points, 8.5. Is more than accessible. That is one of 2 points prop that we bet tonight. One college, one NBA. In the NBA, we're going to the matchup between Minnesota with the Timberwolves and the Spurs, and taking Rudy Gobert for 15-plus points. A little more expensive at minus 135. Listen, folks, you ever miss the college football world? We'll just flash it up behind you. But the Rudy Gobert 15-plus points is at minus 135. And without Karl Anthony Towns, I have every reason to expect the workload will increase massively for Rudy Gobert. Maybe massively is an exaggeration, because we don't really need it to increase that much. Rudy Gobert last year had 12 games without Cat where he had shot the ball 8 or more times. He had 15-plus in all of them. This season, he played 1 game without Cat. He shot it 13 times. He scored 21 points. On the year, when Rudy Gobert gets 10 or more field goal attempts in a game, that's happened 15 times. In 13 of 15, he has scored at least 15 points. He's landed exactly 15 3 times, which is why we paid a bit more juice to play that number. So I'm on Rudy Gobert. If you are looking for some late-night action, BYU plus 8. In the college game, I think without McCullough, Kansas is up against it here against what is still, for me, one of the 25 best teams in college basketball in the BYU Cougars. And then we're going to take a late-night big shot, 21.5 points with San Jose State. I know they only have 2 wins in the conference. We're not looking for a win. We're looking for a cover, and I think they can get that against San Diego State. They played this team tight once, and they don't even need to play them tight again. Just backdoor, big-time number. Kevin Walsh with Game Time Decisions. I'll see you Thursday.